Salam sejahtera and greetings to Encik Abidi. I'm Moikin Fai from the first group, which hereby I would like to present you the proposal of the technical writing. Alright, after several of the deep discussion, me and my group members had finally titled that name with feedbacks and perspective between the alternate learning and full online learning throughout the semester among Year 3 students in UTHM during the pandemic of COVID-19. Well, this slide depicts me and my fellow groupmates, whom they are Nur Aisha, Nur Hana, and Raja Muhammad Hanif. First and foremost, I would like to go through the project background. The few main ideas that has contributed as our title inspiration, which the pandemic of COVID-19 has inflicted many social issues. There are millions of people dying, economic crisis due to the restrictions of physical interactions in society. Absolutely, students will refrain from being attend their institution physically. Since then, there had been arranged to have a full online learning as for the solutions. Even after the control rate of COVID-19 has stabilized, they have eventually mostly switched to the alternate learning, which called as semi-physical and semi-online learning, as for the first move. And this kind of complexity has provoked some bad effects among the students in the aspect of emotionally, physically, and mentally. This phenomenon occurs tell us on how important for us to investigate it out. Hence, Year 3 students is our main study group in order to get the perspective and also the feedbacks among them to prove out whether full online learning and the alternate learning is the best method to all students in Malaysia.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Narhana Muhammad Hanafia and I will present to you regarding the problem statement, which is the current issue. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic that has occurred almost 2 years, starting from December 31st, 2019, many sectors and systems has been affected and adjusted alongside, such as the healthcare sector, business sector, industry sector, ministry sector, and others. Likewise, educational sector was no exception. So, starting from preschool up to university level, all students and teachers required to experience sudden change in their learning system. However, many students and lecturers and even the publics are a little bit skeptical in terms of the effectiveness of this new online learning method. As a result, everyone is compelled to engage in this unforeseen situation, even if they are unprepared in terms of the online learning, in terms of what platform they are going to use for this online learning.
Research objective. Research objectives are the outcomes that we aim to achieve by conducting this research, and our objectives are such as: first, to study Year 3 student perception and preference regarding hybrid learning and full online learning method during the pandemic. Second, to determine the drawback of hybrid learning method and full online learning method used by Year 3 students in UTHM during pandemic. Third, to analyze the challenges of hybrid learning or full online learning method that had emerged among UTHM third-year students throughout this pandemic. The purpose of this research objective to help us to narrow in on the focus of our research and help to guide us through the research progress.
Session, I would like to talk about the research questions in our technical writing. So there are two research questions in here. The first one, in which that you will prefer the most? Full online learning or alternate learning, and why? And what is the most concerned issue regarding the learning method that you prefer with? And for the second one is, do you agree with the statement that the both online an alternate learning method should be implemented in future instead of the traditional one. Well, here comes to the methodology. This three-root diagram shows how we to obtain the primary data, raw data. As for the information, we decided to have collected data from 50 random respondents among Year 3 students in UTHM. The data is obtained through the Google Form survey, while also the interview section through the Google Meet. And to talk in details, the data is obtained through the Google Form survey. Means that the 50 respondents, which are randomly chosen among Year 3 students in UTHM, they are required to fill up the form that is distributed through Google Form. While the duration is given about 2 weeks. So we will open about 2 weeks for the Google Form to let them have a sufficient time to fill. Afterwards, the 5 interviewee is adopted by among the 50 respondents of it. And the overall duration for each interview sections for each interviewee is about 15 minutes. About 5 questions will be issued as to gather the minds and thoughts of each of the interviewee.
And then we will go on with the significance of the project itself. So comes the question of the significance. Who gets the benefit from this research? The first one is student of the internship itself. It doesn't matter if it is third year, second year, or first year. If even we are only interviewing the third year students, the first year and the second year still gets the benefit from this research. And then the public will get to know what the student itself face during their times of crisis like this, and the hardship and their challenges they are facing. And then lastly, the lecturer's intention themselves. They also will, just like public, will also know how the students face the challenges, and the lecturers can also cope with those challenges and make it easier for the students to study and advance in their own curriculum. And then the second one is, how can these people benefit from this research itself? Okay, for the first one, student. The student that having hard time can express their own opinion on online distance learning, and getting them to express those certified can also ease their stress and worries over studies. University staff can also make adjustment to the student timetable for the student to easily take their studies properly, while the counselor and academic advisor can help the third-year students in regard for online distance learning. And lastly, the lecturer can be more mindful by caring about the student's situation in their house and giving only enough works to them, and so on. And then we will go on toward the scope. The radius of research target is, first, the student need to be inside the education. The student also needed to be studying in education. And then third year, meaning that the student need to be in education and also in their third year of studies. And lastly, that student must be doing ODL or online distance learning. They must either be studying full-time online class or alternate class throughout the pandemic of COVID-19. And that's all.